Hey guys, Joe Boy here. So, got an interesting topic for y'all today. This is going to be more of a discussion than it is a theory, but I'm going to include a theory at the end. But this is an absolutely huge topic. I really see like no one talking about it, and that's probably because of the translation on the chapter that originally came out. But this is huge. This is about Raftel. This is like a cipher within the actual One Piece manga that we could potentially interpret to come up with some really cool shit. I've been thinking about this for almost 5 weeks now. And I have to say that after 5 weeks, I'm still not really in a position where I can confidently say, I know the answer to this riddle. But the riddle is on paper, it's right in front of our faces. And as a community, I think that we need to get together and solve this. So, enough hype, let's get right into the topic. So I'm sure for those who follow the manga weekly, you might remember back at nearing the end of the Zoe arc, Nami brings up a question about log poses and stuff. And I'm completely with y'all. When I read that chapter, I thought, wow, this is really interesting. But the translation ruined any sort of discussion about the topic. And so really not very many people talked about it. However, once the translation was cleared up, for me, I read it on Power Manga. For those who actually subscribe to Weekly Shonen Jump, then that's where they would have gotten it. I think that the actual translation here is really eye-opening, and I think that I can shed light on a lot of aspects of it and then sort of delve into the mystery behind it. But I'm going to read it verbatim to you guys, then we're going to discuss it and unlock it as much as possible. So let's start. So this comes from chapter 820, and I'm going to start at the beginning. First of all, Nami says, I'm starting to get a little worried about our journey's goal. It's about this, the log of our log pose. We're not following it right now, but is that alright? We happened to meet up with Traudude-kun and ended up coming here to Zoe by following his Viva card. So it was just pure coincidence that we happened upon this island and found out about the road poneglyphs. According to what Crocus-san back at the Twin Cape told us, if we keep following our log, all the different paths should ultimately meet in the same place. I always thought that that would be Raftel. And then it cuts off for a little bit and people are distracted, but then Inarashi answers her question. Yes, I understand your concern. If you care to learn what awaits you at the end of your log, by all means continue your journey. There is indeed one final destination to which all three of those compasses' needles will lead you. However, your journey has already led you to begin the next adventure that follows. Huh? What does that mean? Ordinarily, it is only upon reaching the end point of the log that travelers become aware of the mysteries surrounding the poneglyphs and their ancient writings, the civilization that created them, and the hidden final island of Raftel. Roger had to begin a good part of his adventure anew upon reaching that place. Crocus too was a member of the Pirate King's crew, one of the few who know everything. As long as he does not dislike you, he would not tell a lie. Worry not, you are still on the right path, so press on forward. So let's start with the most obvious thing, that's really interesting. Inarashi says that, first of all, that all three log needles point to one island at the end of the New World. So there is indeed one final island that you can reach. And he also says that upon reaching this island, it's usually when travelers first become aware of the poneglyphs, their mysteries, the kingdom that created the poneglyphs, and Raftel itself. So basically, the final island that you reach that can be found has to have some sort of giant poneglyph or something like that on there. There's some just huge sign that says, hey, guys, look for the poneglyphs because this is how you find Raftel. This is what Inarashi says on the final island, about the final island. However, Inarashi says that basically the final island doesn't matter to them because they've already started to begin the journey that they would have upon reaching that final island, which basically means that they're already following the poneglyphs. They've already found a road poneglyph. They've already started this secondary journey. So once you once you reach this final island, it usually leads you on the next adventure, which would be basically a search for poneglyphs. But since they've already started that, then they don't necessarily need to find this island in the first place. And then he says that Roger had to begin a good part of his journey anew upon reaching that place. And that makes sense as well. As we know, there's many different paths that you can take along the Grand Line. There's like 7 in the Paradise, and then I guess 3 in the New World, something like that. But regardless, there's many different paths that you can take, and on each path will be a different set of poneglyphs that can potentially be found. So for instance, Luffy and company would have only found a portion of the poneglyphs along just along the journey that they took to get to where they are now. And so in order to find them all, you would need to take multiple journeys around the Grand Line just continuously in order to find all the poneglyphs, and potentially find all the road poneglyphs and everything that you need in order to uncover the true history. This is most likely why it took so long for Gold Roger to conquer the Grand Line and be named the Pirate King. As we know, he was like 50 or something by the time that he became the Pirate King, or he's really old. And this is the most likely explanation, which is that he sailed around through the Grand Line, he reached this final island, he became aware of the mystery of the poneglyphs, he started to then look for all the poneglyphs and search all the paths, and basically went around the Grand Line multiple times before finally conquering it and finding Raftel. This is what makes sense to me. So at this point you got to be thinking to yourself, oh well, I thought there's some sort of mystery involved here. So what's exactly going on? Why is this a puzzle that we need to solve? This is all fairly obvious. Well, this is what really throws this whole thing off, is that Inarashi says that Crocus-san, if he likes you, or if he doesn't dislike you, then he would have told the truth to you. Basically, so Nami brought up what Crocus had said, and Inarashi basically confirmed that what Crocus said wasn't a lie. And so that leads us to think, okay, well, maybe this is also another clue. Maybe we should combine these two, what Inarashi said and what Crocus said, and then this will be the answer to what Raftel is, where Raftel is, and additional information on Raftel. So I went ahead and I went and looked for that original Crocus panel where he describes Raftel. And I'm going to read this to you as well. The various islands across Grand Line all have their own magnetic fields surrounding them. So in short, you'll have to record the magnetic field interaction between any two islands before you can progress on to the next island. In this ocean where one can't use any normal means of pathfinding, this log pose represents the only reliable way for one to find his way. From this mountain, you'll choose 1 out of 7 magnetic fields to record, which will lead you to different islands. But no matter which island you start with, the paths will all converge into one eventually. This is exactly what Inarashi said. Inarashi also said that the paths would eventually converge into one. However, this is where it's different. Crocus says, and the name of the very last island one can reach in the Grand Line is Raftel, the final stop in the Grand Line. The only ones who've ever confirmed its existence in history is the Pirate King and his crew. It is an island of legends. So I hope you guys see what I'm saying when I say this doesn't make any fucking sense. Alright, so Inarashi says, yes, there is an island that you can find that all the log poses will eventually point to. They'll converge to one, the final island of the Grand Line, and at this island you'll become aware of the mystery of the poneglyphs and the mystery of Raftel, etc. So then Crocus says there's a final island to which all the log poses point, and this island is Raftel. These people aren't saying the same thing, yet Inarashi says that Nami should trust that Crocus would have told the truth if he didn't dislike them. And Crocus doesn't dislike him. That's really obvious. When Crocus said this was immediately after Luffy basically stopped Laboon from hitting his head against the red line. So there's absolutely no reason for Crocus to lie to them. So that means that we have to trust both Inarashi and Crocus. So here we're going to get into my actual theory. This is not going to be popular, but this is my interpretation of what's going on here. This is just what it reads to me, given the logic that we're presented with and my interpretation of it. And if you have a different opinion, that's just awesome, because I don't really like this at all. But this is, like I said, just my impression that I'm getting from this, which is, it's really simple. Raftel is an island that can be found and has been found by almost every pirate that has reached the end of the Grand Line. That on Raftel there is something that will make everyone aware of the mystery of the poneglyphs, the Rio poneglyph. The Rio poneglyph is on Raftel, as Robin tells us. This all makes sense. So anyone can find it, but not everyone knows that it's Raftel. So basically, other pirates have reached this island, and they don't know what it's called. If you don't know that an island is Raftel, then how can you know that you're on Raftel, right? That seems to make sense to me. And that only by reading the poneglyphs could you be certain that that island was Raftel, i.e. the only person who could confirm that this island is Raftel is someone who has read the poneglyphs and has found the 4 road poneglyphs which have point to this specific island and marked it as Raftel. And this is probably because the name Raftel has died. It's associated with the ancient kingdom somehow. It's either, I don't want to get too specific into this, but basically this island is no longer called Raftel, or maybe no longer has any name at all. And so this series of logic really is the only way to check all the boxes that were given as far as clues from Inarashi and Crocus, which is that the final island that all the log posts points is Raftel. Check. Raftel is the final island of the Grand Line. The island at the end of the Grand Line has something that will lead you to start chasing after the poneglyphs. Raftel is supposed to contain the Rio poneglyph, so we're going to check it off there. Then we have that Crocus-san, Inarashi says Crocus-san isn't lying. Raftel is at the end of the Grand Line. Check there. Crocus says only the Roger Pirates have confirmed its existence. Well, if nobody knows that it's Raftel, then how could they confirm that it was Raftel? So we have a check there. So yeah, it's literally as simple as that. There have been pirates that have found Raftel repeatedly, but without reading the poneglyphs, without following the poneglyphs, you can't know that that island is Raftel. And so the Pirate King is the only person to have confirmed to have found Raftel, and everyone else has found Raftel, but they have no idea. Everyone has been looking for Raftel, looking for some sort of awesome treasure that's being left there. But maybe Roger's treasure isn't that showy. Maybe like I've said in many of my posts, the Rio poneglyph is at least part of Roger's treasure. And clearly on this island of Raftel, if people are finding it, the Rio poneglyph is there, in plain sight, where people can find it. And so maybe they don't realize that that's Roger's treasure. Or maybe they don't realize that Roger's treasure isn't the kind of treasure that you would expect to find on Raftel, like gold or a weapon or something along those lines. So yeah, I'm going to cut this off here because it's getting a bit long, but I know that this won't be popular. You don't have to tell me. I know that I might get some dislikes straight up because of the idea, but this is literally me honestly interpreting the given poneglyphs and finding the answer. But I want to hear your guys' answer, see if it's any different than mine. And yeah, so like the video if you like the video, comment, subscribe, and as always, have a nice day.